Ladies and gentlemen, our webinar is about to begin. Within a few minutes, please return to your seats and kindly switch off your mobile phone to silent mode. Thank you.
Good afternoon on keynote speaker and participant. I am Prof. Minh, Chairman of University Board of University Economic, HCMC, Vietnam. I would like to say thank you more than 40 local, international jury member, universities, company, local authority, NGO around the world to organize the event series, namely Shopping the Unknown Future Toward Smart City, which meant hosted by Institute of Smart City and Management, Iscm-Ueh. UES, that means our university is a leading university of Vietnam in the economic, management, and business administration field, and is one of top 25 world-best university for making significant contribution to lifelong career development by Humanity Plan 2020. In our university, we warmly welcome on local and international professors, specialists, and stakeholders to join our intensive network to contribute to better education as well as better quality of people's life. I strongly believe that together we can overcome this tough time and we can move forward stronger than ever. Welcome to all of you to panel discussion, Smart Campus Planning Toward Satellite City College Town.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I am Tu Anh, the Director of Institute of Smart City and Management, University of Ho Chi Minh City Economics. Due to the severe global impacts on all aspects of the human life of COVID-19 pandemic, I guess many people around the world are thinking how we should shape our city for the unknown future towards smart city for a better quality of life. And how do we make our international network alive during the lockdown everywhere? And how do we contribute our experience and knowledge to the global community and to each other? This webinar, which are hosted by Iscm and our Excellence Network, Hustle University, Smith Group, are joint efforts to find answers for the above questions in the most creative and effective ways. Many thanks to all of you joining the panel discussion number 4, Smart Campus Planning Towards Satellite City and College Town. Now, I want you to warmly welcome our moderator of this panel discussion, Ms. Anh-Lê, on the stage to guide the webinar. Welcome.
Hello, everyone. First of all, I'd like to say thanks to ISCM leaders for organizing and inviting us to this event. I am Anh-Lê. I have been working with Smith Group in the US for 5 years in multiple urban designs and urban planning projects. Smith Group is one of the oldest and biggest architecture engineering firms in the US with 15 offices. I had a master's degree in landscape architecture in the US, 2 years studying in a Master of Urban Design in Italy, and a bachelor degrees in architecture in Vietnam. With my multidisciplinary and multicultural background, I'm so glad to be the moderator of our panel discussion today about smart campus planning towards satellite city and college town. The US and European countries have been well known for high-ranked university and educational institutions over the world for 100 years, that many parents in Asia have sent their children there to study, hoping for a better future for them. But recently, the academic reputation of university in Asia have been steadily climbing, and many of them now rank among the very best institutions in the world, making it possible to receive a world-class educational that closer to your home. Especially the COVID-19 pandemic has impacted the higher education all over the world. Many families worry about their children's safety and future job opportunity in foreign country, then decided to pursue an educational in domestic institution. It leads to the demand for building great campuses that can provide not only the education quality, but also the studying and living environment and experience as the same as in the US and Europe. It will attract not only students, but also faculty, staff, and profession from all over the world. With this additional population, the demand for living, shopping, eating, and entertaining will increase and rise in the real estate values and quality of life gradually and bring mutually beneficial to everyone. Using education institution as an economic engine has great potential, especially in the development of suburban and rural areas in developing countries. However, an ideal model needs to be appropriate with the context and able to resolve local demands and challenges on multi-aspect. That's why, being with us today, there are 3 speakers who come from 3 continents that will present the different perspective. I am glad to introduce the first speaker is Mr. Neil Kessler with a presentation about American Smart Campus Planning Design Methodology. Neil Kessler is a senior campus planner and landscape architect with over 30 years of experience in higher education and is a renowned expert in field of campus planning. As a principal and leader of Smith Group, he has authored over 100 master plans for new and existing colleges and universities all over the US, Asia, and the Middle East. The second speaker is Professor Rob Carvers with a presentation about the European Town Campus Model. Professor Rob Carvers was an urban planner in the city of Mechelen, Belgium, and a senior advisor for private companies and the Flemish government. He was director of the research group Mobility and Environment of the University College PHL and head of the Department of Architecture, Interior Architecture and Arts at the University College PHL. He was Dean of the Faculty of Architecture and Arts at Household University and promoter of different international and community projects. Last but not least, Dr. Tuấn Anh Nguyen with the presentation about a study of the university city in a highly interactive, innovative district of the eastern area of Ho Chi Minh City. Dr. Tuấn Anh Nguyen is the head of the General Planning Division, Department of Architecture and Planning of Ho Chi Minh City, Vietnam. He is the former director of Ho Chi Minh City Architecture Research Center and also has been working at the city's university and research institution. Having been trained in Australia and European countries, he has mixed professional experience and knowledge in landscape planning, urban design, urban planning, and management in Vietnam. Thank you so much for your comprehensive and for coming here and attend this webinar for us. And now I would like to invite Mr. Niels Kessler for your presentation.
Thank you for that great introduction, Hein. Today I'd like to kick off the discussion by talking about what makes a smart campus plan and the methodology that we use in the planning process. My brief talk today will be examining the smart campus planning methodology from a uniquely American campus planning perspective. So let's start there. What is a campus, an American campus? What defines it? Really what I've done is, there's many things that define it, but what I've done is break it down into 7 component pieces. The first is that it's a collection of buildings within a hierarchy of open spaces. The first time the word campus was used was on an American campus at Princeton University in the 1700s to describe the open space that divided the campus, the university building with the town. And that continues to this day, where we talk about campus.
Hey, Neil, I think you are mute.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, can you come back?
Yes.
Yeah, 30 seconds ago. Thank you.
Okay. So what is an American campus? What is it? It is a number of things. I've got 7 elements that are what make an American campus, and that is a collection of buildings within a hierarchy of open spaces. The open spaces really help define what the context of the campus. In the 1700s, campus was really used for the first time. The word campus at Princeton University defined that open space that divided the university building and the town, and that continues today. It's also somewhat self-contained, so it has its own library, its own recreation, its own dining, housing, athletics. It's its own self-contained community, separate from the town. It's also somewhat cloistered, and what that means is that it has its own policies, its own leadership, its own police, its own rules on campus that are different from the town, and so that it's somewhat inward-looking. It's also integrated to the community, but it's on the edge of town. The universities in the United States were typically early in their the history were separate and on rural areas, and the towns grew up around them. The fifth element is that they're walkable. So we create dense environments that are very walkable for students, faculty, staff, and that we prioritize people walking versus vehicles. And then the sixth element is that they are economic engines for the communities. The community relies.
I can hear no voice from you. Sorry, I can't hear anything from Neil.
I still hear Neil pretty well. How about the others?
I cannot hear Neil. I just can only hear from Lê.
Duan, could you please check the technical, because I still hear very good from Neil.
Yeah, I also can hear. So I
Okay.
think you can go smoothly.
I
Can you check
will
from your
continue.
side?
Yes, I'll continue. So, so the next element that I'd like to discuss is what makes a smart campus plan. When we talk about campus planning, what makes it a smart campus? I'm talking about it as from the American campus model. So in our process, I've divided it into 5 separate elements, and I'll go through each of these separately. But it's, when we look at planning a college campus, it's about data-based space analysis. It's about sustainable and resilient design. It's about considering all modes of transportation. It's about being connected and integrated, and it's about creating a mixed use and vibrant
I don't know
place.
why I cannot hear you. I can hear Lê, I can hear Tú, but cannot hear anything from you.
So the first element is data-based space
I think there's no
needs.
problem with signal from my side, because if I can hear Lê and Tú, that means I can receive signal and the speaker is okay in my device. So can you please check the technical issues in terms of new voice? Thank you.
Okay, Neil, you can continue. I think it's about the technical issues.
Thank you. So the first element is the database space needs. When we're looking at a campus plan, the first element that we look at is space on the campus. And so we don't want to overbuild. That's a mistake that many universities make, is overbuilding what they need. So we look very closely at office space, classroom space, laboratory space, student life, housing, and only build what's necessary. In that way, we conserve valuable financial resources to be used elsewhere, and really provide the best amenities for learning. The second element that we look at is sustainability. A campus needs to be sustainable and resilient. And what does that mean? So sustainability, certainly stormwater management, and so that we can prevent flooding and other natural catastrophes, but also cleaning the sediments from the water. But not only that, we look at energy use, reducing water use, and it needs to be socially and economically sustainable as well. And when we talk about resiliency, it's really the ability to bounce back from catastrophic events. So typhoons and hurricanes, rising sea levels, wildfires like we see in the United States, etc. And the third the next element is multimodal transportation. We need to consider all modes of transportation on the campus: walking, biking, scooters, transit, private vehicles, all the things that that people use to get around. We need to consider, but we really need to prioritize pedestrians on the campus and reduce the number of vehicle and pedestrian conflicts. And then the next element is that it's connected and it's integrated. So that can mean a lot of different things. First of all, when we talk about a smart campus, connecting digitally so that we can bring in people from all over the world. So that we can bring in people from all over the world to be, you know, so that students can learn from the very best of all different university communities everywhere. But it also means that we're integrated into the community, so that it's not only are we connected to the world, but to the community that hosts us. And that we can be an economic engine for the city. The last piece is the mixed use piece. There is a trend of no single purpose buildings. No longer do we build just a classroom building or just a laboratory building, but it's really that lively mix of academics, retail, student life, to create really a welcoming environment, a fun environment, a vibrant and energized environment on campus. And so those are the elements that we really think about when we talk about campus planning. And what I'd like to do is give you an example from one campus master plan that we've done. It's the University of Wisconsin at Madison. University of Wisconsin at Madison is one of the great research institutions in the United States. It's about 40,000 students. It's a really fantastic, integrated into the town of Madison, Wisconsin. And so the first thing we did really is
Hi, Niels, you are mute again.
so
Could
we
you
understand.
please check your camera also?
I'm back.
Okay.
Okay, so the University of Wisconsin-Madison, we looked at data-based analysis, looked at what we needed, only what we needed to provide for new buildings on campus to provide the best student learning.
Unfortunately, I think he was disconnected. Okay, he's back.
So we look at the open spaces and what ties that together. And then we look at how we connect the campus, both with the town, as well as connect pedestrians and vehicles and service and all the other elements. When we look at sustainability, we went very deep into sustainability so that we could understand that the open spaces really needed to serve two purposes, both being a beautiful place for people to gather, but also to treat stormwater and other sustainability elements. Lastly, we created a mixed-use environment that really connected the campus with the city, which we called East Campus Mall, which is this great, vibrant, mixed-use corridor that's not only academics, but also has retail and has academics, it has research up above, and it has retail and restaurants and other things below that creates this great environment that I talked about, this fantastic mixed-use environment. And so that's really what, and I apologize for all the technical issues, but that is an American campus planning methodology. I will turn it back over to Ein.
Thank you, Neil, so much for your presentation. And I know, unluckily, we have some technical issues, but I hope it won't make you down. So we still continue our webinar, and the second presentation will be very interesting from Rob Carvers. So Rob, could you can you present right now?
Perfect. Thank you. Welcome all. Thank you all. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. I will thank everybody and also the university for inviting me, and also Neil for his beautiful presentation. I will present to you the historical European campus model. The images I use are images of my country, Belgium, and some of the others are of the University Hasselt, my university, Hasselt University. This is Belgium, and you see where the Hasselt University is situated. For 500 years, European universities are part of the city. They are built up in the city, And on the picture, you see the old warehouse of the weavers in Leuven for the trade of textile, a building of 500 years old. And the University of Leuven was founded in the 15th century and started partly in this hall. And until now, this building is the central building of the university. You can call this sustainable. So during 500 years, different activities of the university, faculties, services, dorms are integrated in the city center. And here you see the university library in the center of Leuven, accessible for profs, students, and citizens. But also today, the university is building in the city. You see a dorm at the left side, a student restaurant, in the back side, and a faculty building, all integrated and brand new in the city of Leuven. So my first lesson, if I can do that, if you are looking for new campus models, look at the history and think out of the box. In the 1960s and 70s, the Greenfield campus, you can call it maybe also the American campus, was also developed in Europe. Reasons for that development were, first of all, the growing number of students. Secondly, the growing importance of the faculties of science and engineers and their claim for research space. And thirdly, the fear for violent student protests in the cities, such as in the end of the 60s, like in Paris. This picture gives an impression of a part of our campus of Hasselt University, founded in the 70s. And the rest of my story starts from this university, my university. And what happened in the 21st century? This is an image of the flooding of our campus some years ago. Disasters like this have pushed climate change and SDGs Sustainable Development Goals forward in policy making and in society. So new principles and values became important for the future development of our campus. The layer of water and nature became the basic for university development. Campus life and mobility were next. And at the end, the built environment. But more important were the new vision and values of the university. The new vision of Hasselt University expresses the ambition to become a civic university. What's a civic university? It's on the one side a university that parties and supports the surrounding society. And on the other hand, the university is connected with and working with the world. The quintuple helix model become a model for innovation. And so our university is working with all stakeholders, as so many other universities, with the government and the civil society and the industry. And all that in the context of joint care for environment. These new vision and values has pushed Hasselt University to look at the city for their extensions and new faculties, such as law, economy, and architecture and arts. And in this image, you see the old Greenfield campus at the right, outside the city, and the new extensions integrated in the city at the left. So my second lesson is the vision, the values and ambitions define the way that the university can be developed. such as in our case, the civic university and the quintuple helix model have both brought our university back to the city center. So, Hasselt University bought an old prison, you see on the image. And that old prison became a part of the Faculty of Law. An international competition, architectural competition, was very important to redesign this building into an architectural masterpiece. This is the central hall of the former prison, now a public space for students, faculty, and community. A very loved place for students of the Faculty of Law to study are the former prison cells. And this shows how good architecture can create lovely places. But let's talk about the benefits of a city campus. The first benefit relates to the mobility. All facilities, if it is part or it is part of dorms, faculties, culture, they are all in a walking distance, a cycling distance, the public transport, the urban transport that is nearby. The buses are in 5 minutes, the trains are in 50 minutes, and they all exist at this moment. No new measures has to be taken. Secondly, the sustainability benefits are enormous. There is no new land uptake, and in this time, it's very, very important. Buildings can be reused, and on the image, you see the old military complex that was bought by the university to house the administration. No new roads are needed. Existing services can be used, such as for water, energy, and sewage. Thirdly, there is a strong support for city life. Restaurants, cafes, culture, everything can be shared and dealt with the citizens. The fourth benefit is the mixed use of services such as this library in Hasselt, but sport facilities, cultural events, and so on. They can share by many people inside and outside the university. And finally, and also very important in my opinion, is that extension of shrinkage of the university can take place gradually. You're less dependent on economic or other external influences. Look at the impact of COVID-19. Maybe you grow, maybe you have to shrink. In times of growth, you can buy buildings or ground. In times of shrinkage, you can sell. And on this image, you see the old Beguinage that our university bought from my faculty, the Faculty of Architecture and Law and Arts. It is close to museums of art, a park, and the center of the city. There's also a lab to work with the people of the city. The third lesson is there's a number of clear benefits of developing a university as an open campus embedded in the city. And this is my end. This is the opening of the academic year. The professors are walking from the governmental house to the town hall. And this image is symbol for the presence of the university in the city, how the city and the university live together. And as a reminder, my 3 points of presentation: look at history and think outside of the box. Build up a university starting from a vision, a mission, and values. And maybe the most important, think of the benefits of building a university in a city, in an open campus, embedded in the city, assimilated by the city. Thank you all.
Thank you very much, Bob. You have very interesting presentation, and the reasons why I say interesting because I used to live in Italy for 2 years, and I experienced this type of university model. And my old building is used to be a slaughterhouse, so it's a similar story when you share about the prison. And now will be the presentation of Dr. Tuấn. Dr. Tuấn, could you please start your presentation?
Yes, for sure. Good evening, every people. I would like to present firstly about the study of the university city in highly innovation district of Ho Chi Minh City, and also secondly mention the case of Long Phuc Island district, which planned to be a university city. You know, as recently the city authority has already announced to develop the city innovation district in the eastern of Ho Chi Minh City, and the major principle of the developing the cities has recognized and consulted by Sasaki and NCT consultants is facilitating the extended triple helix model involving governments, industries, and academic together, putting the society in the center of the process. The four major principles to developing the innovation district is firstly the connection to provide new opportunities, facilitating the investments, and connecting program with infrastructure. Secondly is creating a new ecosystem everywhere in the areas of nearly 211 kilometers square, which intended to accommodate for 11 millions of people. Thirdly, the intention to globalize the areas, but putting strong communities and cultures. And finally, to be resilient, promote innovation, ecological societies, and economic into kind of innovations communities. So you can see the 6 major focus of innovation district, including financial center, research and development centers, sports, cultures, new towns, and in Tam Da we have eco hub facilitating a new ecosystem of communities. Also in the Tam Da areas, the city authority planned to develop university which named Long Phuc Island. You can see in the hot pot on the eastern, very eastern areas. The topography here is quite low with some special marshland with herbs and resilience, also vulnerable for flooding and erosions. So the natural condition is quite unique, and also it's also a challenge. But the intention here is to develop into the university city, which accommodate 7 university. And you can see the human resource is a good potential for developing a community that is the base for academic and research activities, supporting one of the major pillars of innovation district. But one of the challenges for city authority is to firstly to face the land clearance with many difficulties in terms of shortages of finance and implementation expertise, transportation system and connection and accessibility to the site. Different universities belong to different stakeholder ministry, and lack of financial and coordinations. So it's one of they are the challenges to implement. And also for this forum, I would like to raise the issues of experience, the know-how technique, how to incorporate different university into one site, developing a town, which share the facilities, and also to blend the university and academic life into the community and culture fabric of the areas. We have 6 universities intended to locate the campus within the island, including Economic University, where ISCM is working. So the vision here is to develop an area to be resilient, and also is an eco-urban neighborhood. Major strategy here is developing infrastructure and how it connects to the network of transportation and the water system. So the framework here has already defined to develop the university campus together with the urban areas adjacent to the river. And be resilient is one of the major issues because this is the low wetland and subject to flooding. So some of the pictures are representing how the town could be realized in the future and how the water issue could be the key natural elements to blend in the community and academic life. So here we have challenge to develop the planning tool and transportation links to connect the university campus to the rest of the areas of the innovation district, how to create a unique urban and natural environments, looking for new energy, and also aquatic hub of research and experience. Water, environment, and green-blue infrastructure is also the concept that the city authority has been thinking about and how to develop it into and apply it in a development model with the incentive condition to attract more investor and apply a new financial mechanism and tool to develop the city. We also think face the land policy and the value captures. For example, we developed a TOD model to encourage high density and also investment from other different stakeholders. So all the question and tools and concept we learn from expertise from presentation from Rob or Neil today is really important and also helpful for us to have a talk and also to share experience and learn from you. The question also here is how to utilize the extended triple helix model as mentioned in Rob's presentation before. Our approach now is to participation planning to encourage different stakeholders from public sector, private sector, expertise, foreign funding, and experience, for example. So all together we support each other in developing a model which is smarter and have to realize the university cities. Thank you very much for your listening. And we look forward to hear and learn a lot of experience from you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Tuấn, for your presentation. I'm, as a Vietnamese pupil, Vietnamese person who have stayed away from Vietnam for almost 10 years, 7 years. So I'm really surprised at how Vietnamese designers and urban planners develop in terms of comprehensive and thoughtful research in the design approach. So I'm really surprised. Thank you so much for the presentation. And you lead to very interesting question that actually I planned to ask. So in the US and European country, they already developed the models of campus planning for a long time. So during your practice, do you think which elements that can apply to Asia countries in general, or Vietnam in particular, from your model? sorry, I can say again. So do you think which elements in your model, US model and European models, can be applied in Asia country? Mr. Neil, could you please share your thought first?
Sure. I think that, you know, there are, first of all, I love the opportunity of a campus being the center of a new development, a center of activity, center of a new town economic system. But I think that the real opportunity is to use the campus to create a demonstration of the best urban planning ideas and campus planning ideas, and use that as a model for development going forward, especially in developing countries, where, you know, what we do on a college campus can solve congestion, can create a better quality of life. And so things like the open space system, the blue-green system that Mr. Tuan was discussing, really understanding how we can treat water so that we can reduce flooding, not only on our campus, but downstream and in other places as well. We can't just solve it for our campus, but also want to solve it for our region as well. Creating that healthy environment for students, right? It's a difference between a very dense urban environment, I think, versus a less urban, more more connected to nature type of environment. I think those are some of the elements I think we could bring here as well as the connectivity. The connectivity is so important, right? It's even, you know, what Rob talked about with the town being as one with the university, it is fantastic. But even in the American model, where the town and the university coexist in some way but are somewhat separate, I think could also work.
Thank you, Mr. Neil. Professor Rob, do you have any thought?
Yeah, thank you, Neil. I can follow you and your opinion also. But from my side, let's give an example of the European model you can perhaps implement in Asia and everywhere. 2 years ago, we had the chance to visit Bao Loc, a city in the center of Vietnam. And we met together with Tuan. We met the government president, and the president told us that one important ambition of him was to make the city center stronger. And if you know, looking to that city, that there is a lot of land and there's a lot of buildings available in that city center, building up a university in such a city could contribute enormously to his ambition. And shared ambitions of universities with the government, with the society, with the industry can make the difference, not only in Europe, but also I think in Vietnam or in Asia. So coming back to my lessons, I think we have to think also out of the box and thinking about indeed a sustainable development that can share, that can take in account all the problems and disasters that can come to us in the next years. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Rob. Mr. Tuan, so after listening to two answers, NC's two presentation from the US and Europe, do you have any thought about what elements that you see has potential in Vietnam that you can apply?
Thank you, and thank you, Dr. Professor Rob and Neil, for sharing your great experience and expertise in Europe and in America. I think, like Neil mentions, the topography and the natural condition here is very vulnerable for water and flooding. So your landscape treatment and resolutions experience around the world can also very benefit for us in developing the resilience and sustainable city, campus city. And also, like in presentation that you both mentioned, I like the concept that the university is an economic engine for the city. The campus actually play a role in facilitating the economic activities, the concept, the research, and all opportunities, sharing the knowledge and startup for the new generations. On the concept here can be tested, and then also this can be sold all over the world. So I really like the concept of the city university is the economic engine for the city. And the knowledge that we also need to learn and facing like a challenge now is how to incorporate different university into one campus, into one areas, in order to share the common facilities like sports, library, or open space for students, and also the opportunity for them to exchange and combine and integrate knowledge from different aspects together. So I know that's the management issues, and also we need more time to do things. But thanks very much again for your expertise in sharing the knowledge.
Yes, definitely. I would think that it's take a long time to create a ideal model to apply in Asia's country, because this field is still a pretty new profession. And after watching your presentation, especially in the challenges section, I saw two things very interesting. Since you said the challenges is one is land, the land clearance, about the financial budgets for that, and the second is about the available transportation system to support the campus planning in the suburban areas. Since I have background in both Europe and the US, so for this land clearance, Rob, could you please share how you deal with campus that insert in urban context, where you already have the buildings were built and pretty dense, density of the urban? Because I know all the European cities have very small size and is packed very dense. So how you can deal with that?
Yeah, I really think that one element is to think about an open campus, an open planned campus, and not a gated campus, and to incorporate safety and access in this concept, so that you don't, in that way, you find everywhere places. If you look to cities and you walk to cities and to city centers, there is still a lot of place. I was giving the example of Bauloch. If you looked at to the place of Bauloch, you also find these water issues. You also find the transport problems, but you can see that you can build up a good university in the middle of that city. And I can imagine that this is not possible in each city center, but I really believe that if you think with an open mind, that it must be possible to realize that. Thank you.
Yeah. So is this the renovation? Renovating the building is the key here, or do you have other approach in terms of building this campus inside the city, very dense city?
You have to think about both. Sometimes you can you can rebuild a building, you can reuse a building, or sometimes there are open places where you can build. So there are different strategies. to cover this problem. And really believe if you look to a city, you find enormous. A city is always in change. There are always new buildings. There are always reuse of buildings. There are always reuse of places. And with the university, you can go into the process. You can think about a strategic plan together with all stakeholders, private investors that maybe can build some dorms, private investors that can build some restaurants maybe. But you can think with the policymakers to integrate your policy of a university in the policy of a city. And give this example of Barlok, where the government and the president really dreams about a strong city center. And I can say, if you put a university in that city center, you will have a very fine city center.
Yeah, thank you, Rob. Thank you, Rob. So, as you can see, like, through the answers of Rob, you can see the very tight correlations of university as an engine, economic engines, when attracts more stakeholders, like he shares with inviting restaurant or other services with the campus function. And Neil, here's the question for you. So one of the challenges is about available transportation. So could you please share about how the US prepare for the transportation and utility system in the process of planning and design? Like, we will...
Yeah, so...
sorry, one more sentence. So we will like select a location that already have everything planned for the utility and transportation, or you will propose a new transportation utility and somehow deal with the government. Could you please share about this?
Sure. Well, obviously the most sustainable solution is to build where that infrastructure already is. It costs a lot of money to build new infrastructure where that doesn't exist. And so any time that we can start in a place where we have existing infrastructure of some sort, whether that infrastructure is utilities or whether that's transportation, it's very difficult, I think, as Mr. Tuan is finding, that to create that transportation network to a somewhat remote place. And so that's really difficult to do. But I'd also like to touch on a couple other challenges here as well, because I think and I'm building on what Mr. Tuan had said before, and that is funding, cooperation between universities and how you integrate them onto a number of different universities on a single college campus. That is a huge challenge, is getting the cooperation between the government, the campus, and even each campus to really buy into what you're trying to do and cooperate in some way. And then funding is something that in the United States is a huge issue. Most of the funding for universities used to come from governments. From the government, it does not happen any longer. And so universities are having to be very creative in finding public-private partnerships, work with developers to try and build, as Rob said, work with developers to build anything from housing to other elements as well. And even looking for donors and philanthropic opportunities, sponsors, naming opportunities, things like that, and to sort of understand what the benefits are to developers to come in and provide funding for the university. So those are all big challenges, and infrastructure definitely is one of those.
Thank you, Neil, for the question. So I guess you already covered all the challenges you face in the US. So I will come back with Rob. Do you have other challenges where you developing campus in Europe?
Yeah, there are a lot of challenges, I think, that you have to cover. What we see at this moment, that is that we have, there's a changing of a mentality. The university is developing more and more, and she is growing very fast. So we are looking enormously to find some places to develop our university. But I see also, and coming back to my early issues, as I look to the University of Leuven, I heard last week that they will build a new faculty building for psychology and sociology, but they will build it in the city itself, on a place where an old school is disappearing and going outside. So looking for challenges, but also looking to the private sector. If we look to dorms, we are always building them or let them to the private market in most places. So private investors, they're building towers for housing. Local people build in their own house 1 or 2 or 3 rooms for students. So the global economic development of this city is going together with the growing university. And also the restaurants are growing, the cafes are growing, everything is, more shops are coming into the city because of the huge amount of new students.
Thank you, Professor Rob. And now we receive answers from one audience. The question is how to challenge conventional campus space for innovative education methods like flipping learning or remote online educational after the pandemic. Is decentralizing campus concept can be a mainstream? Yeah.
So I can start on that question, and I've got just a little bit of experience with that, in that my son is a freshman in college right now in the United States, and he has been experiencing exactly this type of situation. He's living on campus, but is taking all his classes online, and so this flipped classroom idea and how that might change, or the online, how that might change campus, is definitely something that we are looking into. And you're right. I think there are things that are probably going to change about campus. We're going to need less space for laboratories, less space for classrooms. I think we're going to need less space for offices as well, as people, faculty and staff don't need to be on campus any longer as much. So I think we are going to see a reduction in the amount of space that is dedicated to learning on campus. So we'll have to be much more efficient with how we do things. I do think that that everything we are learning now is that campuses are not going to go away. They may be a little bit more decentralized, but humans are tribe-forming people, and we like to get together. We like to have relationships with each other, and so campuses are always going to exist. But there's definitely going to be a new space model going forward.
Okay, thank you, Neil. Rob, do you have any thought to share in this question?
Yeah, I think Neil is right. There's completely something changing at this moment, and we feel that students will come to the university environment, and so they will have, I think, a place to stay, a home, a studio, a room, but will not be as much in the university, on the university campus. And they will learn from their room and their place. But in that case, they really need to have an environment. And I believe that environment, the best environment for students, is the city. And so we see that students following lessons in our greenfield campus outside the city, they want to live in the city because there are many students, but there are also the facilities, the shops, the cafes, the restaurants. And they go, if they have to the university campus outside the city with a bike. And that's the way things are changing, I think. But however, I think for the future, we have to think in scenarios. And so there are also different scenarios. You have to think what will happen if, and what will happen if. And sometimes, and then there, at this moment, we are not sure in which direction the future will go. But we have to think about it. I think so. Thank you.
Thank you, Rob. Mr. Tuan, so could you please to share your thought about the conventional campus space that transformed to online, flipping to online and remote, and how was this done in Vietnam, since we also experienced the lockdown during the pandemic?
Well, I totally agree and share the talk with Neon and Professor Rob in terms of the change after the pandemic, especially the technology innovation recently that enable the interaction and teaching and training model to be different, not only just relying on too much space and like a traditional classroom like we are doing at the moment. But I would like to come back to the picture and some images from Professor Rob that are showing the kind of community and kind of historic and cultural town that involving community and people. But this reminds me to the time when I was in Cambridge. To me, Cambridge is a university town that are really interesting and unique in terms of the two issues. Firstly, the community life that blending into academic, and also secondly is the infrastructure and the water system that going through the campus. That make me remember when I visit, and also until now I still remember the time I'm doing the boating and going through the campus experience, access the campus through the waterway. So come back to the university town in district in Long Phuoc Island in Vietnam, in Ho Chi Minh City. I think why not we think about the new infrastructure. That is the blue and green infrastructure enabling a new way of movement of people to access the campus, not only by the big road and very traditional infrastructure, but by waterway. It is infrastructure. It is already infrastructure, and we can access by the waterway, by boat, by any new transportation system that facilitating a new life and new way of utilizing the infrastructure and natural setting. So that just a talk opportunity here, and also in terms of financial issue, I agree with Neil that university have to be more active and more creative today. They cannot just relying on the public funding, but by new or revolution industries, they can find the new mechanism of cooperation with investor to make the new model of campus. So I think in Innovation District of Ho Chi Minh City in Long Phuoc Island, we are open to a new idea to investor cooperate with the university to find a new model of financing, and also the concept of green infrastructure. Maybe we make a new campus and the new interesting model there. So hopefully after the discussion today, there'll be opportunity for investor to contact Smith Group, or Neil, or Professor Rob, to start the new thing to do. I hope so. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Tuan. I have a question for you from the audience. So could you please share more about the cooperation plan for smart campus among 6 universities in Long Phuoc, District 9, Ho Chi Minh City that you share in your presentation?
Well, this is intentions from the city to develop university areas in eastern side of Ho Chi Minh City. It was planned for I think about 7 years, even more, 10 years. But we face many difficulty, many challenge, and at the moment we develop the new concept for innovation district, in which research, training, and university is one of the major pillars of the so after the discussion,
Oh, I think he's he's lost his connection. Okay, okay, in the meantime, I think we can move to the last question, and then if he come back, he can continue to share his thought. Okay, so oh, he's coming back.
oh, sorry. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
I think this is very important and interesting forum for us, and it is a good start for people and to look at the new opportunity, new concept of training and research university town, or maybe in Vietnam or even in the States or in Europe. Everything changed. We learn from the past. We learn there's value still there, but we got to think about new way of doing things. So I think today is a good day for us to start thinking and doing new things.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Tuan, for your answer. So do you have any thought or other things you want to share? At the beginning, I planned to ask another question, but I think somehow in the answers from Mr. Tuan is already covered. And because of our limit of times, I think it's time to end our webinar right now. I know we still have other issues and challenges or other things that you want to share or concern. So I hope in the future we'll have opportunity to cooperate and extend our discussion in the future. Do you have any thought to share now? Okay, if you don't, I will give Ms. Tuan during the webinars. And thank you very much for your attending and inviting us to this event. Thank you.
Okay, so thank you, Ms. Anh. Well, ladies and gentlemen, let me wrap up our interesting webinar now. I would like to say many thanks to all the participants for your making time to join us here in this event. And a very big thanks to my speaker, Rob, Neil, Mr. Tuan, and also a very wonderful moderator that guides us. It's a very interesting discussion. And thank you very much for all of your value sharing. Campus planning towards smart city. Now is closed our webinar section from the shaping the unknown future towards smart city section. But in this October and also coming months, we will have the another webinar that we collaborate with the other local and also international partner to organize this. So I hope that you can join us and you can get more information in our fan page, ISCM. So thank you very much, and I hope that you guys have a very nice day. So thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thanks. Bye. Bye-bye.
Thanks very much. Bye-bye.